All right, I'm Russell Payne with The Vindicator, and it's another candidate spotlight. This time we will be talking to Liberty County Precinct 4 Commissioner's candidate, John Headrick, who runs as Republican. Real quick before we get into the conversation, if you have not registered to vote and you are willing or wishing to do so in the next election, February 2nd is the deadline. Early voting for the primaries will start February the 17th. Election day is Tuesday, March the 3rd. We will have 2 candidate forums. The first will be on Wednesday, February 11th at 6 p.m. at the Dayton Community Center, and that will feature Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3 candidates. And on Thursday, February 12th at 6 p.m., also at the Dayton Community Center, we will have County Commissioners Precinct 2 and 4, as well as the 75th and 253rd District Judge races. Anyway, by the way, if you want to send in a question for those, you can email those to russell.payne@thevindicator.com. Well, Mr. Headrick, you are candidate for Commissioner Precinct 4, and if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself to folks that may not know you.
Thank you, Russell. Yeah, my name is John Headrick. I'm married, been 19 years to Nan. I have 2 kids. One that's getting ready to go to college, so I'm not ready to retire yet. So it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have several more years to work. And Precinct 4 is my next goal, and hopefully I can get my name out there to everybody know who I am, if they don't already know, to vote for me, and hopefully I can get elected.
All right. One of the things that has got to come up in the previous 2 forums or spotlights we've done with your 2 opponents is all 3 of you have deep ties to Dayton, one way or another, and that's unclear. And but one of the things that I think I have failed to ask, and it's kind of an interesting question, is with that though, Dayton's growing and changing, and there's people here that nobody knows who they are, as they weren't here 5 years ago, much less 20 years ago. So you're going to have to reach out to new voters and get to know them. And what are you going to offer them when you get a chance to speak to these voters and the voters that have been here?
You know, a lot. Let me back up a little bit. So, you know, I'm not a 2 or 3 generation person here in the Dayton area. My grandparents moved here in the 60s, and shortly after that, my dad moved to there, and then I ended up living with my grandparents, being raised by my grandparents. So, but just to give a little bit of history on me. So moving to Dayton, I remember when Dayton was, again, a little small area, especially for the city limits, and the roads were still being made out of rock with oil being poured over with rock. So it's definitely changed since then. And my goal is to reach out to the voters to let them know that my experiences in life plus things going on right now will give me, I believe, the edge. I believe the experience to do what needs to be done when it comes to the whole county as a whole, not necessarily even Precinct 4, but the whole county as a whole. Precinct 4 is my area that I'll be overseeing if elected, and I can assure you that I will do it with every bit of my knowledge and training and understanding of how things get done.
You kind of bring a different background. All 3 of you bring a different background, but you have a background that was in law enforcement, still work in law enforcement today. What have you brought? And of course, you were the chief of police for the city of Dayton.
Yes.
And I think that that was an administrative role that you've had before, overseeing things. And what elements do you think from your background?
You know, my background goes back further. You know, because when I first, I guess you could say, got out of high school, I started in welding, different things like that, but also did road construction for a company out of Houston that was working on Beltway 8 and 45. There we laid a lot of culverts, a lot of grading a lot of roads and different things in that area when it was going on. After leaving there, I ended up going to a shipyard and doing some stuff there. But again, that's kind of some of the stuff that's going to go to show you my qualifications as to why I believe I would be the best fit for the position for. But after doing all that, I did get into law enforcement. I got in law enforcement in 1992. And the thing that gives me the edge in law enforcement is there's no way around making important decisions there. You're going to make a decision and it affects everybody's lives, whether it's a citation or whether it's going on. But not only that, you're introduced to city council, different aspects of government, different crises like flooding and different things over the time. I can assure you that the Dayton area, even Liberty County, has seen some pretty severe storms come through here, whether it's hurricane or just tropical storms. But back to the law enforcement, when you get in there and you start handling different calls, you get the experience that those making those decisions. Moving on up through the department and becoming chief, not only having been part of the budget cycle and different things as an officer, but as chief, you're more directly involved in the budgets because you are setting those budgets. You're asking for the things that you need to make the department. You're helping the city manager, whoever in the city council, to come up with ideas and different things to help the city as a whole. So I believe that kind of experience is what sets me above the rest because of that, just by itself. You know, when you speak of law enforcement, again, it's not what makes me the qualified part of it being, I think it's everything as a whole, from my life's experiences to dealing with council to setting budgets. My budgets ain't no 2 years, it's been 35 basically. The whole time I've been in law enforcement, we've been part of some type of budget, whether it's, again, hiring or buying cars or getting a raise or anything else that comes with it. So it's not a 2-year thing for me, it's basically 35. Of these past 5 years, I've been on Dayton City Council, as many know. And in Dayton City Council, you're definitely the one making the decisions. You're going to make those tax rates. You're going to be caught up in what can you afford to do or not do. And I assure you, I'm probably more than anybody, I don't like taxes. I wish they could go to a different type tax system that wouldn't cause property tax and things, but that's what we have right now, so we have to work within those means. So, but again, all those things put together, I believe, has given me the insight on how to handle tough situations when it comes to whether we raise taxes or don't raise taxes, or whether we hire more people or don't really lay people off, but you definitely don't have to fund the position anymore, and then it would come where it's not able to, how do I say this, but you're not hiring someone when the position is not going to be filled. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's essentially the way it is for me.
What do you think the biggest issue facing Precinct 4 is, if it's probably not obvious, but...
Well, you know, it always comes back to roads. You know that. It comes back to roads. But it ain't roads, it's everything. From roads to drainage, and then drainage is a big thing. Again, going back to, I worked for the city in flood of '94, and everybody knows the river bottom was flooding. It had 2 lanes going. Then it had Harvey. Harvey was a big one, and 50 inches of rain in the area flooded everything. I was out there on the streets driving those roads. I was out there in the rain and in the flooding, trying to help people out there. So I get it, and I think that's probably my passion when it comes to how I think I'm going to try to help, or how I can help, is trying to alleviate some of the flooding. And I think we have some avenues we can go to here in a little bit. We'll discuss it, but for the most part, I know it's roads. Everybody knows the road. Everybody knows the cut-throughs, the traffic that's doubled and tripled because there's a train across the highway or whatever. So, and beyond that, we have the jail. It's coming up. The jail's got a lot of issues right now. It's trying to be worked out. It's cost a lot of money. It's, they're having to ship people over to other counties in order to get the jail back up in order, and all that costs money. And technically, it's a waste of money, really. And I want to help try to stop that. Try to get the budget to where we can start on a new facility and upgrade what we have, in hopes that we won't have this problem 10, 20, 30 years from now when we're all long gone. So that's how I see it. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be improved, I can promise you.
Economic development, it's going to be a big key moving forward for this county. Cannot sustain on rooftops alone, right? Dayton, the Dayton area, I guess really where Precinct 1 and Precinct 4 merged together now, is going to be a big highlighted area for what growth will come. You think you've had some experience, a little bit at least, in some of those dealings in your time on city council. I mean, what do you look to do? Where do you look at your role in bringing economic development to the county?
Economic development, I believe, is a key thing. We have Gulf Inland out there, and I've set, more than 5 years. I mean, even as chief, we were talking to Gulf Inland and different things that was going out there. You got to prepare for the future, whether it was the fire side of it or the law enforcement side of it, different things, but even infrastructure that goes out there, such as water towers and different things. So I've been part of that for the last probably 10 years at least. You know, Gulf Inland goes way, way, way back when it was first started, you know, but that's our biggest hub, our biggest area for potential growth that will pay dividends way beyond. You know, when you bring industry in, it helps economics. You know, we're that, they always hear we're that one thing away from breaking out, being that one thing that provides those, you know, 60,000 plus a year jobs, you know, hiring 300 or 400 employees. We're that one deal. And I can promise you, we have talked to some of those industries. You know, a lot of times they come in and they sit down with council and they're trying to see what we'll give them and what they can have to help improve their chances of moving here. And we'll do whatever it takes if it's the right way to do it. You know, you just don't want to give away the farm just to get something, but you realize it. But economic is what we need the biggest in the area. And then once you start getting that, you know, you get a box store coming in, different places. And I know for a fact that they've come and talked to us at the city. And it's not necessarily doing it in the county, but it does, because everybody in the county is going to be coming there to shop or do whatever. And that affects, it's going to provide jobs and different things. But, you know, even if Dayton doesn't get it, if we get it somewhere in the county, and that's what we have to do, we have to not only to look out for Dayton, we got to look out for the county as a whole. If we can get the industry here or get businesses here, I believe that helps us as a whole, no matter where. But Dayton Precinct 4, all the way to Tarkenton, that would be my concern, is to help improve those areas.
All right, growth. Economic development growth is something you want, but you've already got the growth from housing. Neighborhoods are coming. You deal with those almost every time a city council meeting's called here, it seems like these days, right? New neighborhoods, something to talk about. What role do you look to play in development going forward? What can you do to strengthen regulations?
You know, that's a great question. Being on council, you get to talk to a lot of developers because they come in there and they want something, and everybody knows we don't need another development. Well, we can't stop them. We talking to one particular, and you know, they were up in other states and like Michigan, Tennessee, different areas from up north, different areas, and they're like, we were told to stop what we're doing, and Texas is where to be, and then Liberty County is where we want you. So they all stopped some of their projects they had going on in those areas just to come down here, and that's why the big growth's going on, because this is the area. Everybody remembers up around Conroe and then Tomball, those areas have grown. Well, this is the other side of it. You know, you had Katy growing, well now it's the Liberty County area, and those developers come to us. So I get a very good insight. I get to talk to them and find out why they're coming here, why they want a particular one thing. The ones you got to concern you is the ones you go, I'm not sure if this will be a great fit for Liberty County, because I think they're trying to get away with developing things that probably not up to the par. So that's where a good, strong, you know, again, you're limited to what you can do with them. You know, you got sewer and you got different things you can kind of make them do. The road base, again, having them do the roads the correct way, and then get turned over to you 2 years later and it wasn't done correctly. So you got to kind of watch out for that stuff. But when you're looking at the development, you want it to be the smart development. You know, they're trying to get away with whatever they can to make as much money as they can, and I get it. We just have to be smart and say, hey, hold on a minute, this is not what we want to see come here. What can we do to help y'all in order to help us make it correct? I know in the city we make them do certain size lots or sidewalks or curbs or gutters. When the county, you can't do that. Mm-hmm. So they can pretty well come out and just put a dirt road in, or not a dirt road, but basically not the best concreted curb and driveway type system. They can come out and just put whatever the cheapest material they can get in there, and that's what we want to stop. We want to make sure that they do it correctly in legislation or whatever, having representation for, you know, Austin, going up there and talking to them and pushing. You know, we got other counties just like us having the same problem. It's push legislation that will crack down on these. And again, those developers have a lot of lobbyists that turn around and they push hard, put a lot of money in those pockets to those politicians, and it makes it hard because they're paying their campaigns off of lobbyists, and it's hard. So we got a little bit of work ahead of us.
Why John Headrick? Why John Headrick?
Other people ask me that, and because I believe I'm a great fit. I believe I would say I'm a blue collar worker in a sense, because I've been there, I've worked hard, I've been on both sides. The labor side of it, the management side of it, and I believe what I see the city and the county's futures. They're not 10, 20 years down the line. They're now, and I want to be part of that. But I want to make it. I wanted to do it right, the right way. And again, I believe my experiences put me at that position, and I believe I'm the best fit.
What will be your approach to the road issue? We look at.
So you're talking about something like the worst roads, and it is complicated again. If y'all gone through Dayton, we spent a little bit over $2 million to improve our roads just in the city of Dayton. Some of that stuff had come from grants, back from Harvey. I mean, you think how many years ago Harvey was, but we are now seeing some of the benefit of those grants. A lot of times you say, well, the county can't get any of that stuff. Well, they can when it comes to a natural disaster. There are certain things such as the flooding grants when the water shield deal, the GLO, which we've had a big study coming up that should be coming out pretty soon. But I think for as roads and stuff, you're going to have to find the worst roads that you can, which is the most traveled, and work those areas first and maintain the other ones. And is it a simple fix? I don't see that. I don't care who would be in this position when it comes to the commissioner. Not a simple fix. It's going to be something that's going to cost a lot of money. I know Precinct 4, that area, the county as a whole, received some money for a lawsuit. And I'd like to see some of that money, or if not all of it, come towards the Precinct 4 area, in hopes that we could repair or do a little bit better than what we already have.
So how will you communicate? What ideas do you have to communicate between, say, that corner of Tarkington that's going to be in Precinct 4 with that road or drainage issue, and how that's more important than the folks that are in the Kennefic area versus the folks that are sitting out here on the other side of Eastgate, because it's a pretty broad area.
Yes, it is.
That you have. And what have you thought about any ideas to communicate with them?
I know each one of those areas. I know Facebook can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. I know a lot of those areas have the ability to reach out, and people will complain about certain things that are going on in those areas. But I think also just being accessible, being seen, making sure you go to those areas on a regular basis, that they know you're concerned and working. I drove up there, 30, 309, 311, or different ones down there. You go down there and you take a look at it and you see what you have. I believe it. You go out to Kennefic, you go out to Fairfield, you go out to any of those areas out there, and all of them are going to have the same concerns. And I believe every one of those have a group that will let you know that something's not going right. And I think being accessible and having someone they can call, having a good crew that will address the issues the best way they can.
We've discussed, with both your opponents, your job is, there's the administrative role, right? And you will impact every corner of the county one way or another, although you represent Precinct 4, but Colony Ridge is a part of that conversation. What do you see your role in dealing with that as it goes forward and continues to grow? What can you do? What experience do you have that maybe will be important to that?
Well, I tell you, it's not scary. It's fact. That area has grown probably faster than probably any other area in Texas, really. If you really looked at it, the amount of people that's moved in there, whether the census tells it or not, it's there. The growth is there. Whether it's good growth or not, that's to be determined. I know I've seen areas around Dayton that really started off kind of bad, but turned into something good later on, and I see that the same way. You know, I know there's developers out there that are working hand in hand with whoever, and that's probably where you're going to have to rein them in and say, look, you're making a lot of money, but we need to put it back in there to make it better than what it is. Mm-hmm. As a county as a whole, we keep getting brought into a spotlight because of that area, whether it's animal control, you know, things like that. I think that was one of the biggest things out in that deal would be animal control, and I believe there's some things we can do to help that, such as either partner with other cities or build a major animal control. But those areas growing like that, it's going to be something that all commissioners have to come together and work with. It ain't going to be just one. I know 1 in 4, or not 1 in 4, but that area there coming together will definitely have to be handled in a different way than it already has.
Taxes, you said you'd rather find another way to do that, right? Do you have any ideas, though, on what role you can play as a commissioner when it comes to the tax issue?
You know, when I watch a lot of legislation stuff, you know, and you try to keep on top of that. You know, the governor and lieutenant governor, those people, they get to where they're talking different things about what they wish they could do. You know, an all sales tax on everything, consumption tax and all that stuff. Well, that's still a tax. It doesn't matter whether it's property tax. I think as a whole, everybody would be paying the same tax and not getting away with getting a break over here or there. But I mean, I wish I had the answer for that, but I think legislation is the key thing. I know the governor pushes for different state reps to support him in those areas, and I know they've tried hard to try to eliminate property taxes or even give bigger tax breaks to the seniors or military or any of those other ones. So I think we have to push hard with that and try to even better that what we already have in order to lower the tax burden for everybody that's here. Because I'm promising you, I don't want to pay any more taxes than I do. Pay quite a bit, and I think it's people kicking that can down the road, and I think it's getting to the end. And I think it comes back to we need good representation on the, state level, where there's our representative for our areas to go to Austin and fight hard for us to try to do something about it.
All right. Well, real quick, we have some information on elections. Our voters registration deadline is February the 2nd. Early voting begins February 17th. Primary election day is March the 3rd, a Tuesday. Forums are coming up for Congressional District 9 and Senate District 3 on February the 11th at 6 p.m. Also, February 12th, Precinct 2 and 4 County Commissioners, 75th and 253rd District Judges, also at 6 p.m. Both of those events at the Dayton Community Center. Mr. Headrick, you want to give one final pitch to the voters?
Yeah, I would. You know, again, married, got 2 kids. I've been an active part of Liberty County as a whole. I've been part of every top organization long before I'd even thought about politics. Liberty County Metro Go Texas Committee, Houston Livestock Show, rodeo stuff. My kids are in 4-H, different things. So I've been an active way before, what'd you call it, politics. I really never set out to be a politician, and I don't want to be, because I believe I'm a hard worker, and I'd rather be considered a hard worker, not a politician. And I believe that what I could bring to Precinct 4 and the county as a whole is a plus and not a negative. And I believe that I would be the one that could get it done. And
he's also the father of royalty. His daughter's the TV queen.
Oh, yes, very lovely daughter. She loves that stuff. She loves rabbitry, and I'm a real proud dad of her. You know, I got a son, proud of him. He's played football. You know, he probably thinks I'm hard on him, but I want him to be physical so that he won't be lazy, and then he'll get out and work, and that's the way I've always been. You know, you want to get out and do stuff. I've never had anybody do anything for me. I didn't grow up rich, didn't have no money, and everything I did in life I worked hard to get, and that's what I want to do for the citizens of Liberty County and Precinct 4, including all the way from Tarkington, Kennefic, Cedar Bay, all these areas. I'm working hard and would work hard for y'all.
All right. You can tune into our candidate spotlights by going to thevindicator.com, clicking on our menu bar under candidate spotlights. You'll find all of them there, so you can compare and contrast and learn a little bit about each candidate so you make an informed decision. Till next time, we'll see you here with the Candidate Spotlight Sessions.